It never ceases to amaze me the amount of content that we see here on a daily basis on this program. It's been more than 6 months. I am never starved for content. Never. Artist Journal, February 28th, 2023, broadcasting to the world from a sunny Berlin, Germany. It's feeling like spring visually. Not so much in terms of temperature. It is still a minus 2 degrees Celsius over here, so a little below freezing. But it is starting to look like spring visually. The brightness is coming, so that is incredibly exciting. Welcome back, everyone. A wonderful show, and as I have been saying, in store for us, and as I've been saying, Uxine just makes it look easy, and I'm starting to think it is easy for him. Because he just, put out a whole bunch of work here, and look at this. This is probably my favorite. I mean, there's a few I had to choose from, but I mean, there's like 8 or 10 to choose from today, and that's just one artist. Okay, so and then I was, as we'll see, there's a new rare piece. Like I didn't even see it, and then I was like, so anyway, there's a lot to get through here today. I think the reason I like this one the best, to nerd out a little bit. The reason I like this one the best, I think it's the pixelation. I think it's kind of the 8-bit, for lack of a better term, maybe 16-bit in this case, video game kind of aesthetic that Uxine, with his endless invention, has applied to the friar guy with the VR goggles. So just a wonderful piece. And again, the noise, weirdly, in my estimation, really helps seal the deal in terms of persuasion that this is like art. It looks like art, doesn't it? And this is really stunning here too. And then I'm going to move it because maybe people don't love the flash, because this is a slightly harsher flash than some of the others, but I just want to point out where the cursor is here. You'll see there's some static pixels that aren't moving, and then there's some flashing ones underneath. Nice touch. Nice touch. So anyway, this is part of the Tez vending machine. There are 44. Maybe I will have to do this. I was thinking, it's a little pricey, but with Uxine, you get your money back. I mean, you will be able to sell these things. One would think, not financial advice. You have to take your risks. Here's another beautiful one. Then we're going to look at all of them together here. Edition of 200. And look at this. Press any key to continue down here in kind of madman writing. And just totally awesome. And so you see the surveillance camera, which we will also see later in this show. And again, just like cool flashing. Looks like a skull with this wonderful, wonderful distortion here. So anyway, super cool. Resistance.gif. So always a bit of spirit there too in the titles. So here's everything. So how many were released here? I mean, it was a major dump. That's what I was going to say earlier here. 12 pieces. 12 pieces that Uxine has delivered out of nowhere for the Tez vending machine. And so we're going to very quickly look. And here it is. Again, you see how effortless this looks for Uxine? It's like, okay, we got to fill this square. We'll put some noise here. We'll put a skull and we'll just kind of do this. You get the sense that he's doing this and this is what happens. This is the beautiful thing, I would argue, about being an artist, which is once you kind of get your thing together, you can kind of it's like magic. You're just like, okay, no problem. Boom, 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 boom. So, I mean, Uxine on a roll in the, what would you call it? Flow. In flow, it looks effortless, honestly, which I don't want to understate, because it takes a long time to get to that point. And who knows, maybe he worked on this for 10 hours. I don't know, but I doubt it. But it looks great. Do you see the custom UI has been set for the Uxine machine takeover happening in 2 days? So again, it's not cheap, right? But 100 Tezos for one, if you're on the allow list, but you'll probably get your money back, is probably how this works. What I wonder to myself is, do you get automatically an Uxine? Because if you automatically get an Uxine, then it gets really interesting, and then you go, maybe I should speculate. So I don't know, that would be good to highlight that you, like, I don't know if it's mixed with other works or if it's all Uxine. Maybe it's all Uxine. There will be a lot of lower additions in the machine, including up to 3 one-of-ones. Uxine works speak for itself, so everyone wins here. So I think it's all Uxine work, but I don't know, confirm with someone else, because I don't know that. Because if that's the case, it doesn't look so expensive anymore. Continuing on, so let's just go through these. Wrecked, another good title here. And so more of an abstract one, but not entirely. We kind of see an unhappy person here. And just in the middle of a whole bunch of noise here, again, making it look effortless. And what else do we have here? This is a beautiful one. Only 6.66. So it looks like, check Uxine's feed, Twitter feed for details. I have to go. Like, Twitter is a tunnel for me right now. I hardly see anything that anybody is posting other than like 4 people. Anyway, so check this out. So another one, press any key to continue. Kind of, instead of cigarettes, remember there's the pill one, which this reminds me of, and instead a bomb is coming out. So a bit of commentary, only 6.66. So maybe there's offers being taken because people are making an offer. And this is an edition of 30. So if you get one of those, you will definitely profit. Again, not financial advice. Who knows what happens? Maybe hold on to it forever. All the wrong answers. A 1-of-1 with this beautiful noise here. I mean, it's hilarious how I focus on that, but this beautiful noise in the corners and this beautiful flash here. So again, and then almost like a Francis Bacon type space here. Really sophisticated stuff here, isn't it? So we're having a ton of fun over here on all counts. Everybody, strict code, 1-of-1. So another interesting one. A little bit of experimentation over here with a little bit of fuzziness. Anti, that is hilarious. So anti for the Latin writing here. So anyways, just awesome. There's some wonderful sampling happening here, isn't there? Because to me, again, I'm kind of back to this sampling through layers. This looks like just like a fill or like a magic wand type thing on top of an actual painting. You lift it out, and then maybe in that fill, it's not filling everything, so you're just kind of good to go. And I'm just purely speculating here. Anyway, all this sampling, again, it feels like, 1980 hip hop over here. That's what I see, visually speaking. Waiting your turn. And a nice, commentary here is waiting your turn. Yeah, I mean, dark. And what I like about this is how simple it is, even just technically. Here you have a person, the figure, and then turns into the skeleton. And it's just such a simple thing. I mean, you probably put 10% opacity, 50%, 75, So, and these beautiful long shadows. I mean, again, kind of like speaks to it reminds you of Dali. Right? Or maybe De Chirico. And beautiful roughness over here, this painterly roughness. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. Totally unfair. So here we have some retro cell phones, and they're for different prices. So I'm not sure exactly what's going on here. And they have little halos around them with some, again, beautiful noise in the corners here. And that is also taking offers, edition of 33. I mean, look at all this work. False hope. So we're back to needles here, and it is being injected into the computer, incomplete lies, and the small figure, I mean, this reminds me, the small figure with this massive technology and massive death, and there's a skull at the top, nice detail. It's like in East Berlin, you will see this in like Friedrichshain, the neighborhood, which probably a lot of you have been to. What you see in the Soviet architecture, because of course it was run by the Soviet Union, is the streets are massive and the buildings are massive, and it's almost designed to make the person look small. We kind of saw this with GloomTube, with the checkout, the automatic checkout, and there's these tiny gloom tubes and this massive technology. We kind of see another version of that here. The small person in the face of these massive forces. Kind of Kafka-esque, just kind of like individual against the massive machine, and the individual basically doesn't stand a chance. Until we came along, my friends, until Uxine and all of us here, we're doing beautiful things here. Expiration date, Uxine, so another one. And look at this. Look at these beautiful details here. Again, reminiscent of a Renaissance painting here. And the surveillance camera that is dripping, and these stunning, textures here. These stunning textures. So, you gotta love it. I keep coming back to this idea of digital textures. It's a really interesting kind of idea for me, at least. And this almost looks like an X-ray within like a Roman arch here, these wonderful Roman arches. Can't wait to visit Italy. Backlash.exe. Look at how many works there are. So again, I don't want to take all morning here, but I mean, this is worth our attention, isn't it? Void, is in the, and look, he even comes up with a new title, Backlash.exe. And so void in the head here. And then again, this really interesting technique in the GIF of basically putting different kind of pixelated versions of the face here, or the two eye sockets and the nose. And then you just have two variations, and then you just kind of flip them back and forth, let's say. Whatever's going on here. And again, kind of a Francis Bacon reference here, one could argue. An almost impossible looking square here, or shape, but maybe not quite, very possible. Anyway, I mean, just so much invention and imagination with execution on top of it. You have to love it. And I think this is the last. There's two more. Name your price. So again, playing with these brushes here. And again, what looks like a few different versions. It's too bad it's not a GIF on Twitter, because we can actually pause those. But anyways, it's looking good. Slightly different colors here. Name your price. And finally, wrecked. I'm not sure. We looked at this earlier. Okay, so this is a 1 of 1. Okay, so anyways, looking great. Coming up tomorrow, so a nice artist journal on Rug Radio. As I say here, any genre, any medium, any domain. Who are the people, living or dead, that most inspired your artistic journey? So this is your chance to, get up on stage and tell people who inspired you imaginatively in your imaginative artistic journey. Who are your favorite people, whether they're philosophers, artists, writers, just interesting individuals. They can all be painters. Who knows? Who are your heroes of the imagination? Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3:30 in Berlin. Come join us. Come hang out. It's always a lot of fun, and you always feel great afterwards. And again, I'm making short form content out of these things, which is pretty exciting. Just a few comments here that I want to touch on. Santiago had a comment about a commentary you make often, and I agree with it. The thing about being careful about not rushing to leave the day jobs. And, we have a piece by Runetune coming up here, which also references me saying that, in a weird way, that's kind of the last thing I want to be associated with, is telling people to, stay in their job and not be artists, But I guess what I'm always saying is, if you're hot on Tezos or Object or in the NFT scene, the art business is a boom-bust business. And sometimes having a little side gig along the way, as long as it doesn't take too much of your time, actually really can be beneficial in terms of being in there for the long term. Because as I've seen, and there's a guy who, shall remain nameless, but in earlier episodes, who quit his job to become an NFT artist, and you don't see from him anymore. So it's like in my universe, and everybody has to make their own decision, you want to play the long game. And I guess my point is, do whatever you want with your job, but my point is it's a boom bust business, so you have to be ready for the bust. That's all I'm saying, all right? And so, but let's get to Santiago's point. I agree very much for the cases it applies, but please don't forget the big amount of us that didn't have any jobs when we started NFTs, and neither any source of income. It's a great thing for our culture. It's a great thing of our culture in this space, and specifically the Tez scene, that some artists didn't have any other chance and found something. Let's not forget that. Absolutely. In a sense, I haven't forgot that. Like, I'm very cognizant of the fact that there are people, like I think Santiago's in Uruguay, there are people who simply don't have opportunity to have jobs. So I'm not trying to say, okay, I'm not assuming that everybody has a job. And just so you know, But I'm saying for those people that maybe do have a job, you might not wrong, So absolutely though, like everybody kind of comes from a different situation, and isn't it a magical, wonderful thing about this scene that, put it this way, let me put it this way: if I lost my job, this is the first place I would think of to get some quick cash, right? I'd probably be putting out work every day, maybe 2 a day, right? And I'm really trying. So there's something to be said. Conversely to what I'm kind of saying, there is something to be said for having that pressure, because I think you see that people who this is their only source of income are probably a heck of a lot more productive, and they're probably evolving faster. So there's something to be said for applying pressure to yourself. Some people say, Brian Tracy, burn your bridges, but you have to be very careful. But don't be too careful. So when I say don't leave your day jobs, I say that with a certain amount of, what's the word? I don't mean it in all cases. I'm sort of saying, my point when I say that is this is a boom bust business. That's all I'm really saying, in a sense, just so everybody knows. Thank you for the comment, and great to hear from you. Also, just on the flippers from RuneTune, I'm glad you bring up this perspective on flippers as shared by Katya Kaz, because it's something that I've had a hard time navigating, and there are a lot of people with their own ideas that can make this whole thing very confusing. Ultimately, as artists, I think we have to accept that speculation is the modus operandi that we're all subject to. Primary sales is not what attracted me to NFTs, it's the royalties. On the one hand, flippers can be a problem when trying to establish a higher baseline for your primary sales. Flippers can be a problem for your marketability, optics in general, but you need your work to flip in order to attract speculative interest. I'd love more commentary. Yeah, like from a personal point of view, I don't mind the flippers at all, at least at this point. Again, I think I've said in an earlier episode, I may eat my words on that, but I don't mind the flippers at all because to me, a sale is a sale is a sale. So if someone wants to buy my work on primary at what I price it at, and they want to see if they can do a 2 or 3 or 4 or 5x, have at it. I'm thrilled because I'm selling out, but I think it's kind of so there's a feedback loop there that it's back to this hot and not, because when you're hot, they may jump in and they may just buy all your work. But once that starts to fade, maybe you're releasing too much, maybe things, who knows what, it can be the reverse feedback loop where all of a sudden you have zero speculative interest, and then all of a sudden, maybe you're sitting on work. So yeah, interesting topic. We'll definitely come back to that. And interesting comment from Skomra that I want to get into. I think we're going to come back. We have a work by Skomra, so we'll look at that. And also Santiago was mentioning how the words in his work yesterday was peace and bomb. And those were the words here, the letters that I couldn't read. They make peace and bomb. And finally, there is something else I did want to touch on here, which is Wild Exposed. We're talking about the NFT presentation at NFT Paris and attribution. The presentation at some of these NFT expos is reminiscent of public school substitute teachers setup. I thought this was a hilarious description because I think fair enough, totally, and is basically a meme by now. I think it is a little bit interesting to embrace the cringe of degenerate crypto culture in these settings. A generous point of view as well, but in doing so, at least have some respect for the artist by citing the artist's works. It's where people go wrong first, I believe, by not recognizing and appreciating who it is they are working with. I actually think this is what I wrote is you're right. I agree with you. Everything being said yesterday, not citing the artist I totally agree. It's where they go wrong first. And I totally agree. So when I did my show at Z-Bar there, I made sure the artist could be attributed to every single work. Sometimes I'd put a title slide with the artist's name and I'd put 4 or 5 works. That was about as far as I went to non-attribute, but it was all attributed. You always knew, okay, that is so-and-so, that is so-and-so. So I agree. And I felt like I couldn't do it without doing that. So you're right. You're right about that. We have to cite the artist's name. And have a nice, thank you, Nomad Potato, for the vacation wishes, still a month away. And just a very quick note here. Sabato posted these videos retweeted these videos by John Cates, who has been in Glitch since like 2010 at least. He's talking about Glitch in 2010. So anyways, I just retweeted this. So if people want to see John Cates discussing Glitch in 2010, it's actually pretty interesting. I watched a couple videos so far. You can see that on the feed or in Sabato's feed, where he also retweeted it. Mikey de la Creme, time to shake things up a bit, announcing the first Creme de la Creme event, Camp Creme, March 13th to the 17th on Object, details in the thread. So an open invitation to the entire community to mint a piece of art that is based on the camp aesthetic as defined in Susan Sontag's essay, Notes on Camp. Like, guys, this is very sophisticated from my perspective here. This whole scene, everything I'm seeing from the technical to the intellectual. I mean, what else do you want from a quote-unquote contemporary art scene? So continuing, camp will be open March 13th and close March 17th. Simply mint a piece using the hashtag Camp Creme during those dates to join in the fun. Decide your own edition, sizing, and price. Each day of the week, we will be auctioning one of ones on Object from Bazaya, I Am the Astra, Lily Illo, Von Doyle, and Modem 3. It's almost like a kind of curation, isn't it? By hashtag. It's a curation by hashtag. So very cool from Mikey de la Creme. Big shout out. Cyber Mystic posted this, and I don't think I've ever seen this work by Cyber Mystic. And I've seen this bull before, and I'm sure a lot of you have too. I was trying to place it. So anyways, it looks like a preview of a work, I believe. I thought it was nice enough. I wanted to show it, and this is such a famous image. And I was like, it looks and reminds me of, let me see if I brought it up here. This bull here, which is so famous, this from Minoan civilization, it just totally reminds me of that, but it's going the opposite way. So if anybody knows the direct reference of this, but it reminds me of this bull leaping fresco. So anyways, and yeah, and Minoan art and Minoan civilization out of Crete this is where this original 1450 BC, and where that's like the original source image, as far as I understand, of this kind of style of bull work. But bulls, I think they go back all the way to the caves of Lascaux, right? So, I mean, that's an interesting thing about bulls as iconography or icon in the history of painting. It pretty much goes back to the start. So you see Picasso uses bulls a lot, and and also, mythology, Greek mythology with the, what do they call it? The Minotaur, the human body and the bull for a head and whatnot. So anyways, I just wanted to, touch on this. And Minoan civilization, just very briefly here, this is, this is Crete here. And if you see tiny, this is Greece and Crete is down here. And so this is a Bronze Age civilization. It was pre-Greek, and the interesting thing about it is it actually ended mysteriously at 1100 BCE, and Greek civilization started in 600 BC. All to say, or 800 BC is maybe when we have the Odyssey and the Iliad. So there's a 300-year gap, a kind of dark age. And yeah, so there's a Bronze Age collapse there. I just wanted to kind of touch on this because remember we were looking at the history of writing at one point in Samaria. That's around 3100, 3200. The pyramids of Giza and, the first pharaoh, was it Nimrod? Nimrod's palette is that early thing that's about 3100 BC. So you see civilization was sprouting up in different areas here. This is 3500. So that's quite old. And it sounds like it really got going around 2000 BC. So just a few notes on Minoan civilization here, which Cyber Mystic, at least for me, references. Maybe there's a more direct reference than that though. But this is a really famous image, so it's worth touching on. And Parsa Mostagim is working on a painting, and he was the guy that did that crazy kind of internet work that we were looking at yesterday, the guy on the computer with VR and Blender, and I thought it was great just to see him painting here. So anyways, just a update on that, and some very interesting comments from Pablo Puncasso here. All right, I've talked a lot about Puncasso World the past week. Today has been great, but my excitement goes well beyond just today. So this is a world, a curated space on Foundation. I think great Foundation worlds, especially Punkaso World, will be threatening competitors to Super Rare. So Pablo Punkaso has even started their own Twitter account here, Punkaso World, and they're saying, hey, we're going to threaten Super Rare. And I think there's actually some merit to this claim here. Super Rare has thrived off its limited curation, which is a black box and controlled by just a few. Curation has its strong points because in a world of decentralized art creation, it's hard for the average collector to navigate the landscape of what's for sale. We've been commenting on this a lot here. In my humble opinion, Super Rare has been slow to adapt and doesn't offer its artists a proper competitive advantage for the 15% they take. They feel comfortable in their spot to me, ripe for disruption. Foundation Worlds allows for a decentralized take on curation instead of holding it to the chest with a few employees. It allows anyone in the world to give a shot at curation, and collectors in the market will decide who the best curators are. I am biased, but I've given artists in my collection countless hours of promotion in the past few weeks, which is well beyond anything Super Rare has ever done for them. Which is debatable. I mean, a lot of these people might have gotten their name out there on Super Rare, but I take the point. Punkaso World is here to rival Super Rare, and we aren't stopping today. So, defiant words from Pablo Punkaso. So, even starting a new Twitter account, interestingly, a Foundation World curated by Pablo Punkaso and Olis Ciabargo, launching, and that just launched yesterday. So, we'll take a quick look at it. And here it is. And there are quite a few interesting works here by a lot of artists I haven't seen, a lot of familiar ones too. So here, of course, we see Charles AI. And there's actually, this is where I discovered Rare had a new piece, which also was just minted. So there's all sorts of work. And look at these bids, 3.69, 2.75. This is look at all, these are also bids, 4 ETH. 2 ETH, $3,000, $3,000, $6,000. Look at Rare, 4.2 ETH. I mean, I think I brought this up here. Look at this gorgeous work by Rare, free Rare. So we'll look at the description in a second here. But another cool work by Rare here. And After the Hunt is a pastiche to Mary Rosalie Bonheur's 19th century painting, Barbaro After the Hunt, but replacing the hound with our robotic four-legged friend to further add to the absurdity of our out-of-context technology in rather somber and dramatic setting. And here we go. Inscribed on the wall is Free Rare in reference to an unprovoked suspension. So one assumes referring to the Twitter suspension. Those who know. So we have figured this out, we believe. And look at this, Vincent Van Gogh, 3.69 ETH. So Rare, bouncing back from the Twitter suspension, just like Dan Control, bounced back. And it was pretty impressive. He put out a tweet. I don't think I brought it up, but he's basically saying he's making all sorts of auctions too. People are bidding on his work. So bouncing back, from defeat, which is going to happen to you. So I'm totally impressed by both Rare and Dan Control. Look at how, it's just great. I mean, that's what you want. Arno Beck, who is a really interesting contemporary artist. I do not believe he's in the NFT scene. I kind of think it's a matter of time. Let me show you some of what he was working on, though, here. Really interesting artist, and we'll look at his work in a second, but I just want to show this experimentation that he's doing. He's made a lot of work with typewriters, the plotter pens, screen printing, pixelation, and look at this. So, see that? And so applies this interesting technique here. Does this great video. And you see how he makes this painting here. And with all the kind of, all the little mistakes of the paint bleeding through makes this beautiful work here. If it was perfect, it wouldn't be as interesting. So anyway, to show you, Instagram is not great at showing work here. And this is, I can't even remember what this is. This is a Rezo print. Look at how great his Rezo prints are. So, and again, Rezo print is kind of like a photocopy version of a screen printer. There is Arno Beck. I met him once, actually, at Art Berlin, where Wolf Lieser was showing some of his work from the Digital Art Museum here in Berlin. Continuing on, working on some new aesthetics, pure code. So here we are back on this theme from Mark Ludgate of pure code looking surprisingly like real brushwork. We saw this about like 3 weeks ago. I think it was a different artist, I'm not positive, so we're probably just going to see more and more of this. Generative art, creative coding. And here's a work that's made digitally, but it looks like, when I first saw this, I was like, okay, this is a physical work. This is live on Super Rare. So I see this is by Jura Kimakovic. But then I go to Super Rare and I see it's a digital painting. So isn't that interesting? So I'm not sure, maybe this was just cut in to make it look like a painting, or if it was actually printed. I don't know. But kind of interesting, again, just like this, confusing the mediums as we travel through the mediums. Azure Haze, constructivist composition. Again, this scene does not lack any sophistication at all relative to contemporary art scene. From everything I see, feel free to disagree. Leave a comment if you think I'm wrong on that. This was retweeted by RJ. Thanks so much, RJ, for collecting this piece. So happy for your interest and support. This is a work by Magnetismo, and just kind of a cool painterly work. And I believe this is also a digital painting. I believe it looks like a physical painting, but then I went to here and Digital Artist, and then you can go to their foundation and Super Rare. So I think it's a digital painting, but again, these things are starting to get confused here between digital and physical work as the code and the tools become more sophisticated. Interesting. We've seen it with the brushes in the last 3 or 4 years, right? Where the brushes, up until like fairly recently, Photoshop brushes, paint brushes, were not that convincing, I would argue. In the last, I'd even say 2 or 3 years, they finally have become good enough. This is also by RJ. RJ retweeted this, is what I'm trying to say, a La La Land series, so playing off of David Hockney's Splash here, and all these different variations. Who is Brutal ETH 81 is the artist, and they have a whole collection here. So anyways, very cool, as you can see, just kind of interesting. And of course, and so all these different variations here. So I think RJ picked up one of these, and of course this is the original Splash by David Hockney. And you see how beautiful that splash really is here. It's kind of easy to forget, but the splash is gorgeous. And then again, you get this contrast to the movement with this utterly calm, kind of perfectly in place painted space here, and then chaos in the middle of this order, right? So nice contrast here. Beautifully painted by David Hockney. So a homage over there. This is an interesting piece, Canizeptica, or we'll get Canizepta's name right. We looked at Canizepta earlier. This is not Canizepta. This is Jig, okay? I think Jig, or Macy is the name of the artist here. The name of the work is Jig, and this was retweeted by Canizepta. And so I just thought a really interesting piece here. This is a 1 of 1, and it went for 5. So I just thought a nice, interesting piece. Here's a new one by Board Me Social Club. Damn, he's back and he's got new clothes. So interesting, surreal painting as ever. A kind of a Nike reference here. Just kill me in the eyelids. Bleeding eyes, tears of blood, and Gucci and everything. So interesting piece here. And Authentic Waffles, No Christmas for John Keyes. And this was sent to, I think, people like myself who bought the first version of this William Burroughs inspired piece of Dr. Benway, and also outsider artist Herbert Singleton, who we're going to have to look up here. I've never heard of Herbert Singleton, so we'll have to take a look. Shall we take a quick look? Let's take a very quick look here. So anyways, thank you, Hasdrubal Waffles. Sent from Authentic Waffles account, by the way. Let's just do a quick look at, oh, here's Herbert Singleton. I feel like I maybe have seen this artist before. Anyways, very cool. Very cool. So anyways, there's Herbert Singleton. Continuing on, Ollie Izakowski, also known as Polo Muloki, has a new work, Desert Oasis, which I thought was kind of cool. A nice landscape here. It kind of looks like a physical painting, but I bet it's digital. Maybe we can tell. I mean, this pattern here in the background looks digital. Digital art, it says. So V for Vanguard. So interesting piece. And there is the V. So the gnomes enjoy the desert oasis before venturing into the gnome mountain. So here are the gnomes, I guess. Interesting piece. Buy now, 1 of 1 for $6.55. So pretty reasonable. Dexter with the new work, Jason and 146 crew and the 146 street crew. So his character Jason reappears here. And here is a pirate flag. No movement, interestingly in this one. Very nice sky. Kind of feels like a watercolor brush is being used here. And so anyways, nice. And kind of trademark, I'd say this, what I'd be tempted to call an imbalanced composition, something that kind of diverts from the golden ratio here. And this is kind of classic Dexter, putting the subject on the far side of like a wide landscape painting. Guru Hyena, also I think from Canexepta's Twitter feed here, just kind of interesting work here, playing with kind of desktop iconography, Windows desktop iconography and whatnot. So interesting artist, edition of 3. Let's just see what it sold for $6.66. One Discomra there, and Ile. Okay, so they've seen this. So this has been around since February 21st, which feels like an eternity in this business. Kurt Hustle Collective, Naps, Neuro Ads Patching Services. So interesting small piece by Kurt Hustle, Naps, for 100. Lagojo is putting that on secondary, so it was only 50 cents on primary, so that would have been nice, and then 97 burned. Ed Marola, Red Dream, and so another kind of surreal work, which looks like a church with a Tezos sign on it, devils, and here's the person dreaming, and again, kind of trademark, JPEG'd out pixelation, shall we say. Red Dream by now, edition of 15 for 13. Let's see if we can reload up this piece by Manidal. This great pixel art here, say cheese, 1 of 1. I mean, Solana is cheap right now. Like right now, 1.5 Sol is $33. So you can get this 1 of 1 for $33. Or at least that's the high bid right now. This beautiful work by Manidal, who does the Cat Tarot. And so what's interesting about this, I mean, first it shows Solana continues to attract artists. And here, this is almost more of a stained glass style that Manidal was experimenting with, and now putting the pixelated works on Solana here on form function. So that is cool. It looks great, and it kind of has that Solana feel to it, these nice bright colors. Here's another work on Solana, this time by mech.txt, hidden in plain sight, and this is an edition of 20. So nice to see new work from mech.txt, these gorgeous pixelated landscapes with a little tower there. Hidden in plain sight, and just beautiful colors as usual. And yeah, price of $44 or 2 Sol, 10 editions remaining. That's a pretty nice price. I guess it's kind of similar to the Tezos prices that we'll see for an edition of 20. So interesting. And here's more work by mech.txt. Let's check our gears and make sure everything is all set. Don't give up. So playing around with color here. And also kind of slightly different landscape subject matter. And also here, look at all these works. My recent visual explorations, I went back to my roots a lot lately as if I'm trying to remember something really important. A lot has happened recently in our hemisphere. Make sure to rest enough, prevent the fatigue and the burnouts, which is true in this space. Get your rest and sleep. And so anyways, these are gorgeous works that I don't think I've seen minted anywhere. So looks like mech.txt is sitting on a bit of a treasure trove here of work. I think this is my favorite, but these are all great. So beautiful evolution here and development from mech.txt. Another one from Popple. And another, very, what's the word, kind of like a large pixelated work. I guess we could call it pixel art, sci-fi pixel art here. And playing with different colors in the Satellitenstadt series. So this is the second. The first was pretty popular. I think I was seeing it got like 76 retweets. So here's the next one by Popple. We'll have to get Popple on a Twitter Spaces, perhaps, if he is free. Dave Bees and Bombs. This was just a nice GIF I saw on Twitter that I thought was kind of interesting and kind of went with our animated abstract theme. So just kind of interesting. Here's a new one by Koda Nakazono, edition of 11, continuum number 66. So again, playing with these organic forms here. Pretty cool and just original. I like the black background as well. And this sold for $5 on primary. It looks like it sold out pretty quickly. Within an hour, this sold out. So that is cool. Continuing on, look at how great this looks. Ex-Mortal with an edition of 15, Who Watches the Watchers, and a big surveillance camera that is glitched out. Let's see if we can just make that bigger. This is a beautiful work. Again, you can just imagine this on a projector, huge on a wall when you walk into a museum, and this would be pretty, like, again, you make this big, it makes it spectacular, and it's already a good looking work here. So anyways, beautiful glitch work using modular video synthesizers, analog and digital. So very cool. Also, Tezos starts his new series. So of course, Tezos is the modern furniture guy who does the space age 70s furniture. This is a new series in which I will document all the places I have lived using maps, photos of the places, all run through my analog glitch studio. Again, this kind of, the next piece we're going to see is called Winnipeg. I think this might be Winnipeg right here as well. I think, but I'm not positive on that. Winnipeg is near Saskatchewan in Manitoba, near where I grew up. So here's Winnipeg 1, Fortune Street, Winnipeg, Manitoba. So you can see the map is put with some glitch juxtaposed and laid on top of a glitch of the landscape there, one would assume. So kind of playing with this abstract idea of location and also a physical representation of the location, seemingly to me. So that is Winnipeg, Manitoba. And a new one by Runetune, glad to see, Don't Quit Your Day Job. So yeah, so here is another reference. Heed these words or get left on the street. We are all subject to speculation here, no guarantees. Animated GIF combining drawing, film, created on Procreate and Photoshop. So combining a lot of mediums here. And so here we have the drawing and it is glitched out. And here it looks like photo. And what I particularly liked about this piece was how you can see the traffic coming through here. I mean, this looks like video, but maybe that is animated by Runetune as well. And this animated as well. So anyways, combining a few different things here. And here you can see the lamp or something hanging here is also moving. So anyways, interesting work. Runetune is focusing on the GIFs right now. So great to see. Open edition, and this is, I probably opened this page a while ago, but you can get it for only a Tezos. So go give Runetune some support and pick up Don't Quit Your Day Job. Minta Creator Card. So this is by EdgeQ. So he's back to doing the cards, and he's referencing Minta, who we haven't heard from, or at least I haven't seen from, in quite a while here. And here's some music. It's a nice little tribute, I think. By EdgeQ.
Let me give it to you in the words of old Buddha. Why did I choose him?
And I'm pretty sure EdgeQ makes the music here too. It's very nice music. Sounds like, if I had to guess, like an Akai MPC. Pretty cool. So that is an airdrop to people who own another work. What makes Minta happy? Thank you for accepting to be part of this, Minta. So yeah, anyway, it's great to see Minta out there. Adornment in Blue and Gold, this is by Shilly the Kid. And kind of reminiscent of these, pixelated noise that we're seeing from Uxine. Very cool, again, what I want to call sampling across layers. I don't know how this was made, but I thought it was pretty interesting. By Shilly the Kid, Adornment in Blue and Gold. This might have been burned. It was burned. So anyways, maybe nobody saw it, because I would have picked one of these up. So anyways, we'll see what else Shilly the Kid is working on here. I think, yeah, some AI that's kind of like, these are really cool too. These AI works that are kind of like, you know who it's like? It's like Pizarro. These tiny little flecks of paint, Impressionist painter Pizarro. This is totally what this one reminds me of. So anyways, cool work from Shilly the Kid. Very nice, another nice work from Skomra. Look at this. I love the color. And even the representation here of the people, this looks pretty sure this is AI. I don't know how else you would make this, but really nice result. And again, the color is fabulous. And even just the representation, I'd love to see an entire series. Look at how well it's doing too. 17 retweets, 168 likes. So shout out to Skomra again. And there's Tukes. And it's so great, isn't it? Glitchtown Arcade. So everybody, this is great. Now, this is Kenix Zapata, who we looked at a few of the works that Kenix Zapata has been tweeting out here. And here's another awesome work. We were looking at Kenix Zapata like what feels like a couple of months ago, and I had basically lost track, but look at how great this is. So this came out a couple of days ago. So it always pays to look at feeds. And here's some other ones, Electric Landscapes on Foundation. So this is February 24th. So just interesting work. Like I remember Kenix Zapata from the Rainbows about 2 months ago. And I think it's AI combined with just making GIFs out of it. I think it's mostly AI though. I'm not exactly sure. Image generated by DALL-E and then transformed with GIMP. So there you go. So I thought pretty interesting pieces here. Super original. And so here's Kenix Zapata on Object here. Here is their feed. And I tell you, like I brought this up, one of one for 7 Tezos here. There are deals to be had on this page. Edition of 3 for 2. And look at this piece. I think I brought this up. Well, here's another one, and then I'll bring up that other piece. So just more interesting work from Kenix Zapata. Here's that one of one for 7, which is pretty nice. Iridescent Pileus Scarf Cloud. And here's other works from the website. So just kind of interesting work here. And this is an AI image. And here's another one. This is an edition of 4 for a Tezos 23. And again, pretty interesting work here. Looks like a DJ or something, or at least some sort of party. The Prompt Party. We're at the Museum of Art with our first great prompt party. That, my friends, is your show. I'll see you hopefully tomorrow on Rug Radio on Twitter Spaces. I have pinned the tweet at the top of my feed to set a reminder for you. Thanks again for joining me. Until next time, take care.